Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge, which will be led by Jan Dambra.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please take your seats. Welcome everyone to our third annual Harlingen HCISD Meet the School Board Candidates Night. We have been committed in educating voters, our local public, on school board elections for the last 2 years. It is important we bring events like these to our community so that we can make a wise and qualified choice on who the candidate we want to vote for. At this moment, I would like NCCD core members and volunteers to please stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I'd like to recognize them. If you could please give them a round of applause for all their hard work in making this happen. Before we begin, I would like to ask if you could please silence your cell phone. We don't want your candidate or your favorite candidate to be interrupted while they're speaking and a cell phone goes up. Also, the restrooms, you have the men's restroom up on your west side, and then you have the women's restroom right here on the east side. Now I would like to introduce the 4 candidate CISD School Board candidates. From your left to right, Dr. Gina Cano Monreal and Ms. Lorraine De Leon Galarza for place 1. For place 2, Dr. Israel Aguilar and Mr. Ricky Leal. We'll be hearing from them in just a few minutes. Today's forum will be moderated by Mr. Vincent Axon. Our moderator for this evening was born and raised in Harlingen. He graduated from Harlingen South High School and attended Cornell University, where he graduated from Cornell with a Bachelor of Science. Great. He returned back to the Valley and taught speech and debate, coaching multiple state and national qualifying debaters, and ultimately serving as a district debate coordinator for Harlingen CISD. Tonight, before we get him to come up here, we would also like to recognize the Harlingen North Media, who is recording this. If you would like to get a copy at the end, I'll let you know how you can get a copy of this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Vincent Axon.
Hello, thank you all for being here. I know it's important for a lot of you to be involved with our schools and the future of our children. So I want to give you guys a round of applause for showing up. Thank you so much. We learned a lot of things tonight. Some of you have already learned that there's a Texas pledge and you don't know what it is. But I want to also warn you that a lot of the issues that we face and a lot of the issues that our children face are deeply serious. So these are going to be deeply serious questions. I've prepared 8 questions today, which have been approved by Northern Cameron County Democrats, which are the last few candidates in round robin style, which means we will go down the line and then start with the second and go wrapping around for each following question. I would ask you to please hold your applause until the end, give the candidates time to respond fully. Each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes to answer each question, but they can use as much or as little time as possible, hopefully to get to the end where we can ask questions from you wonderful people. With that, that's the style, and I will now head to my seat, and we can begin with our first question. Hello. Okay. So this first question, Dr. Cano Monreal, if you will.
Right up to.
Yes, please. If you can go up to the podium and turn. We will begin today by asking each candidate to introduce themselves, tell us a little about yourselves, and your qualifications and your motivations for running for school board.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Just want to once again thank Northern County Democrats for organizing this event. My name is Gina, for those of you who don't know me, born and raised here in Harlingen, along with my husband David. We have 2 children in HCISD, Maya, who's a sophomore at Harlingen School of Health Professions, very active in sports at Harlingen South, and a son who is a 6th grader at Bucettis Middle School. Like I said, my husband and I are both born and raised here. We have our families here, both a big part of and very proud members of this community. My husband and I moved away for a bit, and while we were away, realized that we remembered what kind of education and we got here and community we were raised in. And so when we finished our time in St. Louis, we decided we wanted to raise our family here in Harlingen. So we made a conscious decision to move back here, and I've been fortunate to work at Texas State Technical College, or TSTC, for 15 years since we've been back. While I was in St. Louis, I started my teaching career at the School of Nursing, and since moving back at TSTC, I first started my role as an educator, and now I am a Senior Vice President for Student Learning. So I oversee teams across the state of Texas at 10 campuses, all really focusing on our end goal, which is quality instruction and student success. So I continued, my entire career has been based either as an educator or really focusing on working with teams to bring them together with an end goal of quality education and making sure that our students are successful. I've been active in the community, volunteer work on a Carson Community Improvement Board and in the Junior League. And my big why is just to make sure that we graduate students that are college, career, and community ready, and that means all students. And that we create safe learning environments with great opportunities for learning by building partnerships with our community. That's good. All right, thank you.
Hello everybody, good evening, and thanks again for having me here tonight to talk a little bit about myself and introducing myself to the community. For some of you, I am a familiar face. For others, I'm a new face. My name is Lorraine de Leon Galaza, and I was raised here in Harlingen. I have 2 veteran sons and 10 grandchildren, which 4 of those do attend the school district here in Harlingen, and I'm very proud to say that. I'm very proud of my children. I started my career as a medical record clerk transcriptionist, and I went on with my career and studied to be a registered nurse. I started out with an associate's degree in nursing, but my roots were here. I started off at Texas State Technical College, which at the time was TSTI, and then I went on to further endeavors and went on to graduate a couple of times from the university. As a registered nurse, I specialized in psychiatry, utilization management, and case management. It was my experience that brought me close to the school district and looking at all the different concerns and just all the growth that the school district has had since I was a child. And looking at the experience that I have in bringing that to the table and looking at all the mental health awareness that's needed in our community and in our children that we've seen here has really, really driven my heart to this community. And it is the love and the passion that I have for these children, for all children, that is the why that I'm running for school board. Now that I am retired, I have the time to put into the school district. While advocating for the schools and attending school board meetings and the commissioners' meetings, it has been such an endeavor time, and so I just, again, want to thank everybody for listening to what I have to say, and hopefully get and win the hearts of the community and helping me be the voice of the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Aguilar.
All right, good evening. My name is Dr. Israel Aguilar. I'm first and foremost a faculty member at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley in principal preparation. As a former classroom teacher for a couple of years, I quickly moved up the ladder to the principalship, and now it brings me great pride and joy to not only teach in the principal preparation program, but in the doctorate of educational leadership. And these students that I have are not only from Texas, but across the world. In fact, a lot of the principals here within Harlingen HCISD are my students. And so it's really nice to be able to help them as they're reaching their career aspirations. Prior to the principalship, I was also a classroom teacher in Austin, Texas, and in Brownsville, Texas, together with my beautiful and talented wife, who is a speech-language pathologist in the neonatal intensive care unit at Doctors Hospital at Renaissance. We have 3 small young boys, and that is essentially my why, is because I, as a former educator, have a heart and I have a passion for teaching children. But one of my biggest pride and joy is that I can go to any classroom and teach a lesson, and that's in any school district, because I was an educator. And so during the pandemic, when we were all sheltered at home, that's exactly what I was doing. I was going around tutoring not only the neighbors' kids, my kids, but friends of children who didn't have access to those resources. And so now, as your next school board trustee, I hope to be a resource to the community. That's my big why, is that I want to continue being a resource. I will roll up my sleeves. If you look at the cards I placed around the room, I am the current president of the Sunburst Rotary Club, and I'm also a volunteer for numerous organizations with children. In fact, one of the closest ones to my heart is CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates. I'll leave you with this. About a week ago, I visited the child that has been removed from their home due to abuse and neglect, and that child is an infant. And the fact that I'm one of the few men to participate in this organization is something I hope to bring to this organization as your next trustee. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ricky Liao, and I want to thank the Northern Cameron County Democrats, and I want to thank also for throwing the party tonight in the event. Also want to honor Javier De Leon for 18 years of outstanding service on the school board, and this is a seat we're running for place 2. I'm from Harlingen. I'm a proud product of HCISD right here, Harlingen High School grad. Played football, basketball, and baseball, and I'm a proud trumpet player for Mr. Keltner's Big Red Cardinal Band. I'm saying that because the fine arts mean a lot to me, and everything that's going on, speech, drama, debate, band, choir, all very important, all need to continue to grow and succeed in this district. From here, I attended Texas A&M University and got a degree in political science and joined Corps Cadets. And at the time, hooked up with a bunch of guys and gals who just love their country and lit a fire inside me. And so I took a contract in the United States Air Force as a second lieutenant, served at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, and Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico as a munitions and missile maintenance officer. 1 year in, my wife joined me up there, and we decided we had a choice to make. So shortly after being promoted to captain, we was offered a chance to come back home and work at First Community Bank, where I've been for 18 years now. I'm now a member of the executive management team and part of the asset liability management team. Very well versed in financial statement analysis, credit analysis, which is quite appropriate to serving on a school board. Since moving back, I've been very involved in the community. I've been a Rotarian for 18 years, president of my club back in 2012. I've served on the airport board for 10 years. I've served on the EDC. I've served at the state level, appointed by Governor Rick Perry to the Private Development Small Business Incubator Board. So point being, I've got lots of experience on governance boards, lots of experience providing financial expertise, and I think that's where somebody with financial background is appropriate for the school board today. We just lost our CFO, and there is nobody running and nobody on the district today, on the school board today, that has a financial background. So that's what I'm offering. My kids are in the school district too, so 100% accountable for all decisions made on the school board. Thank you so much.
Moving on now to the next question, starting with Ms. Delion Loaiza. Approach, please. So, as we approach the one-year anniversary of the Uvalde school shooting next month, safety is at the forefront of parents' minds. What specific measures would the school board take, when you were on it, to improve school safety in HCISD?
Well, that is something that I've already been advocating for. And since the Uvalde event, the Harlingen School District had 5 police officers, which drew me closer to pay attention to the school security and the lack thereof. There was 5 active police officers and 4 as needed. Today, we currently have the memorandum of understanding. And as a school board member, I would like to be there to listen to the parents as I have been in the community, working alongside with the superintendent, working alongside with the law enforcement agencies, and also making sure that we are listening to our children, listening to the students and what their needs are, because I wouldn't want to have blood spilled on my hands. But I can say this much: nothing is perfect, but if I was on the school board, I would continue to work with the community. I would continue to make sure that I was listening and actively visiting the schools and ensuring that we do have the proper police enforcement in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Aguilar.
Same question?
Same question.
All right, yes, absolutely. So after the incident in Uvalde, I actually happened to go with a group of parents to address the school and to raise the concerns that I had at the time that were about where is the protection that our students need in Harlingen. Before we had arrived there, I had already communicated with the superintendent that I wanted to address these concerns with her. But she asked that I speak to the chief of security. When I met with the chief of security, their response was, it didn't work out too well for Uvalde. So why do we need a police department here? That's an unacceptable response. And our parent is here tonight to corroborate that story. So what am I going to do as your next trustee? Is that even though not all the community wants another department, that's fine. But we need additional resources and police reinforcements for the city. Because right now we're borrowing the city, the county, the city of Palm, the city of Palmview, the city of Primeras police. What happens when, that's right, the Department of Public Safety, Border Patrol, what happens when those entities are already booked up and something happens in our schools? So as your next school board trustee, I'm going to advocate tremendously for more mental resources as well as school safety resource officers. I understand the community doesn't probably want a police department. I can rest to the community for that. But at the end of the day, right now, what we have isn't doing the best that we could do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lam.
School safety. For the last 3 years, I've participated as a parent representative on the Facilities and Safety Committee for HCISD, for Uvalde. And I've seen, I've watched up close and personal, front row seat, former Police Chief Danny Castile build a program from basically nothing. It's a 4-pronged program, and I'm quite proud of what we've done, and I'm quite proud of where it's going. It's not arrived yet, but it's continuing to get better. We deal with infrastructure. You've probably seen the walls go up around all the schools over the last few years. You've seen cameras. You've seen entry control protocol, policies, doors locking. That's all part of infrastructure. We've got mental health programs. We've got counselors on site, hotlines. We've got the DOGS program, Dads of Great Students. We've got the Hope Squad, students electing peers to walk up to if they're having a tough time. If they don't want to talk to an adult, they can go to a peer and say, I need help. That peer knows where to find the help. We've got crisis management. The tragedy of Uvalde wasn't because they didn't have a police department. They had a police department. And it wasn't because they didn't have enough officers showing up to respond. They had a ton of officers gathering up outside. It was a tragedy of crisis management. They never trained together. They didn't know who was in charge. And that's not what's happening here. We've already had intruder training drills. We've had active shooter training drills. That's all improving. It's a work in progress. Crisis management is key. Crisis management is key. That's when you rehearse it, you practice it, you get better, and that's what we're doing. We're not there. It's going to continue to get better. And finally, communication. The partnerships. When I talk to police officers in Harlem PD, and Premeta, and Combs, they tell me they want to be part of the solution. They have kids in the district. They have spouses in the district. They don't want it to be handed off to some other organization. They need to be part of the solution. I think that four prong, any of those legs break, you have a problem. If anybody that tells you that they have the solution and that they're going to come in and fix everything, they're not being genuine on that. Okay. If there was an easy button that I could press 17,000 times for 17,000 kids, I would press it. I would press 3,000 more times for our staff. There's no easy solution. It's multifaceted, multi-pronged, and we need everybody at the table to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think I need to take up that much more time because I would really like to, first of all, echo a lot of what Mr. Gal just mentioned and express a gratitude for parents, including him, for serving on our safety committee. So HCISD had already started to implement a safety committee, and that team has really worked with Chief Dan Castillo to implement, as he mentioned, a four-pronged approach. So it's not just one thing. If it was having one officer on each of our 31 campuses and we could say that that would save everyone, that's just not the way that it's going to be. There's got to be multi-levels, multifaceted approaches, and that includes things, as mentioned, infrastructure, things like the fencing, the cameras, washrooms for that. It includes crisis management. It includes communication. It includes having mental health structures, in addition to what Mr. Liao mentioned, even having night counselors available to address student needs. You know, we're coming off of a pandemic, we're talking about COVID. We're also entering what we like to, I think another way to look at it is a mental health pandemic. We've got a lot of folks still recovering from COVID and also from seeing what's happening around the world with these shootings. So, looking at one approach to having just one HPD and functioning separately from a school district police department is definitely not an area that we are looking into going into, because it doesn't show, right, that there's a vast difference if we have that. That issue that happened in Uvalde was definitely a fault of miscommunication. And so what I want to see for building on that is a partnership. I don't want there to be, this is your police department at the school district and this is our police department and we're not going to communicate. We should be communicating across the board to make sure that we have law enforcement that is protecting not just the district, but our community as a whole. I want you to remember we've got 31 schools within the district, and we have deficits in law enforcement in our city as well. So let's partner together to make both of them better and stronger and communicating together.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. We'll start with Dr. Aguilar. Many Harlingen educators have expressed concerns about teacher retention. There's a shortage of teachers across the state, and many classrooms have been left to be manned by permanent subs. They're concerned that state programs they aim to help, like teacher incentive allotment, are too narrow to solve the problem. What would you do in the school board to make sure there's a certified teacher for every classroom?
Right, so this question is extremely important, right? Because there is a shortage across the state and the nation, and the simple fact that it's happening here is no surprise. And as a school board member, like I said a couple of minutes ago, that the beauty behind what I will do is assist by rolling my sleeves up and try to model for the rest of the community that we have to look within ourselves to make up for the loss of what we cannot find anymore. The pandemic has completely shown us that we have to look to each other for support. Now, if the teacher incentive allotment isn't enough, I agree completely with that statement. That is a performance-based allotment. And so if we're using that in the school district to essentially reward teachers, I think that's a problem in the first place, because they're already struggling themselves with trying to teach with little resources. So understanding that particular dynamic as an educator and of course, recruiting tremendously across the state for those special populations positions like the bilingual program, the special education program, that is going to be extremely key. Because if you look across right now our scores in the district for those particular populations, they have dropped significantly. So we really need to address those particular groups first as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lev.
Okay, so how do we address teacher shortages across the state? First of all, I want to tell you that I come from a family of educators. My mother was a teacher for 36 years here at Treasure Hills Elementary, and my father, if you were to put somebody's name next to CTE, Career Technology Education and Workforce Development, I think my dad's face would go onto that glossary there. 30 years as president at TSTC. My brother is a teacher, coach, HCISD, athletic director of Brazil ISD. Our educators are everything to me. It's the house that I grew up in. And it's painful to see that we're not getting enough. Okay, so you have to start from the bottom. You have to encourage young teachers. You have to bring the young teachers in, the young people that have an interest in that, and show them that there's a career to be had. We need to look at our salaries. Okay, every organization that I've been a part of, at the airport, and other organizations, the bank, we utilize salary surveys. Where are we in comparison to our peers? Okay, is that being utilized today? That's something I'm going to ask as a school board member. Make sure salaries are up to snuff. I love the teacher incentive allotment. I love that program. And if it's not there, if it's not enough, hey, guess what? This year in Texas, there is a huge surplus money. We need to be using that money to pay teachers. We need to be using that money to bring the best and the brightest to educate our young people. And if we're not doing that today, we need to do it. We need to start doing that. Okay, so that would be my plan. I think we need to respect our teachers. We need to appreciate what they do for us. There's so many more problems that would be brought to bear if our teachers, out of the goodness of their heart, weren't dealing with it right there at the point of contact. Okay, so that's basically what I would do.
Thank you so much.
All right, so same question. Yeah. Okay, so addressing teacher shortage, and I know that the teacher incentive allotment was mentioned, and I get it. Not every teacher received that, and that is based on performance, but it is a start. And so I would really like to highlight the fact that when you look at the Rio Grande Valley, Harlingen CISD awarded the highest number of teacher incentive allotments out of the entire Rio Grande Valley, 263 teachers. And some of those teachers, 18 of which are going to receive upwards of $10,000. 9 teachers are going to receive $25,000, okay, an additional amount of money. So yes, it's not everything, and it's not for every teacher, but it is a start. And there's monies put into that for training to support additional teachers to try and reach that in the coming years. And that in and of itself is an incentive for teachers to want to work in HCISD. We've already heard that from teachers saying, I'm moving to the Rio Grande Valley and I want to work for HCISD because you have teacher incentive allotment. So I think that's one thing we need to consider. The other is just, sometimes people leave jobs because, not even because of the pay, right, but because of the conditions. So really looking at respecting teachers' time and what they're expected to do, I think is a big thing. So when teachers are asked why they're leaving, some of it is compensation, yes. Some of it is training. And the other is just respect for their time and allowing them to do what they need to do. So providing support mechanisms that allow for that, I think is another way to make sure that we are retaining our teachers so that they can do really what they came to do in the district. That's what they want to do. Thank you.
The retention of teachers has often been a serious problem, especially now. We see it in the news. Here at HCISD, I have learned from a lot of educators as I speak to them that they no longer want to teach. They don't feel like they are supported. For example, some of them have told me that they have to go buy their own supplies. Even for the children, they've gone to go buy the supplies. Another example, let's look at their benefit packages. I have friends sitting in here right now who are former educators. My family are educators. And I have seen how much they even have to pay for benefits. Come on, let's be realistic. Who wants to be a teacher? They can go and work somewhere else and get a better benefit package, just simply as that. And yes, we do have to give them their respect because the children are the future. Let's take care of the teachers. Let's take care of everybody in the school. Your cafeteria workers, your bus drivers. We have the resources to help them. Let's go listen to the teachers, go talk to them. I mean, if I can hear them describing those needs, then so can you. And if I serve on the school board, I will do just that. I would love to go and talk to the teachers, the students, all faculty, even the paraprofessionals. And that would be just the beginning of retaining teachers at the school district. Let's work together and make the school district stronger, because we can.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question, we'll start with Mr. Leal. According to a 2019 CDC survey, children and teens have experienced a decade-long decline of mental health, with 37% reporting feelings of depression and hopelessness, and over 9% attempting suicide one or more times. That was before even the pandemic. What policy changes would the school board make under your trusteeship that would make to support student mental health and emotional health?
Okay, yeah, so mental health is a huge topic of the day, especially during COVID and now. Kids were home for 2 years and they probably saw things that they never should have seen, this is a tough issue. We have mental health programs today. We have hotlines available. We have counselors in the schools. It doesn't just start with the kids. I mean, our teachers and our staff. One of my best friends is a high-ranking senior staff in a school district up north in Texas, and he recently resigned because for mental health issues. And so, as a trustee, what I would want to see is our existing programs beefed up. I'd like to see our counselors. I'd like to see us bring more of that mental health support to bear for our kids. I love the Hope Squad idea, so that kids who don't feel comfortable dealing with adults, going to adults, can go to a peer and ask for that help, and those peers would then know where to take those kids, and so that they can receive that help. But basically, I think that the district is addressing this issue as well as it can, and you can do more to do it. This is not my field of expertise, but I know that it's a huge issue, and what I would want to do is bring in experts to inform me as to what other areas we can do and what other things that we can do to bring this type of support for both our kids and our staff, and possibly the community at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Conlon now.
All right, so one of the tenets of the safety committee is mental health. So in that particular design team, we have experts that in the field of mental health that are doing some and looking at research-based strategies and initiatives out there that we can use to better serve not just our students, but our teachers, our staff, and our families. And so some of those have already been implemented. Some of them we just started with. Some of them we started them at one campus. And so I think over the next couple of years, what I would like to see is that expanded. One thing that we like to do in HCISD is to roll out initiatives responsibly, right? So let's start and let's see how it works, and then we roll it out. One of the things that we talk about quite a bit is, and it's been brought up, is it's not just our students. So how do we help our teachers? How do we teach them strategies to cope? Because they're having to not only deal with the issues their students are having, but the issues that they have as well. And so just recently, we entered into a partnership with Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation. I'm extremely grateful for that partnership. It's a huge grant, and it's called Capturing Kids' Hearts. And it really starts at the administration and the faculty in those schools, and really teaching them coping strategies so that they can feel like they can better work together and release tensions and stress that they have, and show their students how that they can do that as well. And it's been extremely successful there. And so I'm really looking at how that's going to roll out throughout the district, because I think that we all need some different mechanisms for us to be able to deal with the various stressors that are a result of not just COVID, but also the incidents that we're seeing with multiple shootings, not just in schools, but we see it on the news every day, right? So how are we dealing with that? And so responsible rollouts of things across our district and those initiatives is really what I want to see in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Mental health awareness has been a very important topic. It is now, but it really has always been. We just have not woken up to pay attention to our children. As I said, I want to heavily continue to advocate for children. It is my professional experience that I'm going to bring to the table to work alongside the mental health experts and bring about the change that we need in the school districts, and we need it now. We have children that we are losing to suicide, to bullying, to drugs, fentanyl, and I could go on and on with the list. Going back to school security, that is part of securing our schools and assuring that our children have a mental health needed to be in the classroom setting. We need to wake up. As a school board member, I would be working alongside Tropical Texas MHMR, for example, where I used to work. I worked at Rio Grande State Center. I have seen from the beginning to the end of what the outcome is if you do not address the needs that are needed in mental health. And I would like to have children or the students to be sent to the counselor, not when they ask, but randomly, so that they can go and sit down and talk to somebody. They have problems that we do not know. And I want to make sure that I visit the schools and make sure that these services are there for the children. Again, I'm asking the community to please listen to me. I have heard many parents in these town hall meetings that I have conducted and heard the suicides and how they're not publicized. But I'm here to tell you, it's reality, and we need to pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of training out there that's actually grant funded. I was actually talking to Ms. Kathy Steedman, who actually works for the school district in the social emotional unit. And I was telling her about at UTRGV, we actually have a large grant that's actually already working with Harlingen. I thought that was pretty neat to learn a little bit about what they're already doing with the toolkit for social emotional learning and trying to get teachers to provide that training to educators. Also, as your next school board trustee, I would ensure that different agencies like Palms Behavior Center actually have access to the school district, because I actually sit on the board for the Technical Workforce Solutions of Cameron and Willacy County, and we have a board member there, and I was actually talking to them, and they said that they haven't been allowed to enter Harlingen HCISD. So that would be something I definitely need to look into. Number two, you all may know Andrew's journey, Ms. Janet Garza, who her son committed suicide. She also said she hasn't been allowed into Harlingen CISD to talk about bullying. I'm actually a trainer too for Capturing Kids' Hearts, because that's actually a curriculum that is very effective, but if it's not rolled out with fidelity, that's going to be quite harmful. So that's something as a board of trustees, we have to understand what are some of these curricular changes and what is the fidelity that we're doing with them. And as Brene Brown once said, it's okay if you're not okay. Because right now, what we're dealing with and what we're seeing is unprecedented. Not only in children, but in the adults too. And when we had just an incident a couple of days ago in Nashville, it goes to show that we can't take anything for granted. The mechanisms on the door is one layer of protection, But when we can't even check on to see how kids are doing mentally, we have to ask ourselves, what programs are we having and how much of fidelity do we do to those? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Fano Monreal, the next question, please. How would you respond to a parent who comes to you and asks the district to limit access to or remove books from the school library or classroom?
Okay, so if a parent came to me, I would ask them first to send me, especially if they come to me and verbally told me that, I would say, okay, we do have a committee. Our district has a committee that reviews challenged books. So if a book is challenged, that committee is made up of some of our librarians, our staff, teachers, and that review those challenged books, really according to state mandates to see should that book be in the library or not. So really what I would do is refer them and that book to our committee within the district that reviews those to see if that is truly a book that needs to be removed from the shelves. In some cases, that may be what happens. In other cases, that may be a book that is placed in a different area that needs to be, where the parent needs to be advised if a student checks that book out. But we do have systems in place, right, in order for books to be reviewed. If a parent were to come and say, I have a question about this book, and I would like for someone to look and evaluate this further, we have systems in place already for that. So it would be an easy answer for me to be able to tell them, we have this in place for you to be able to take that concern to that committee so that we can take a further look at that.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard.
The first thing I would do is sit down with a parent and ask her, what book are you referring to? I want to listen to you. Let's talk about that. And if it's something that is biased or anything like that, that I know that I could not take that situation into my hands, I would then sit down with the principal and make sure that the proper process is followed through. But most importantly, I would listen to the parent, and I would also listen to the student. And I would assess the situation. Because you didn't indicate what kind of book the parent wanted removed. And those are just factors that we need to pay attention. We have a lot of ideas, and we have, as a school board member, we cannot play the role of deciding what and what not if it's not following the guidelines of the school board. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think part of the process of the school board, right, is to definitely hear a parent and encourage them to seek an audience, right, with the entire school board if they have a tremendous concern. But as Dr. Kano was already mentioning, there is a process, and that's written in law. So there is already a protocol in place to do that. So just ensuring that the parent has access to those steps, and perhaps being a resource and helping them have access to those steps is what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dow.
Sure. If a parent had a concern about a book, I'd probably want to look at the book. I'd probably want to see exactly what it is they're concerned about. I'm aware of the challenge committee, and I think that's an appropriate way to deal with the issues. But I'll just tell you, give you a little bit of background about me. I think we live in a world where any child can Google any topic they want and come up with amazing and scary and results that come out in 5 seconds or less. And so in general, I just think that books need to be appropriate. They need to be age appropriate, content appropriate, language appropriate. I know that some of the mandates that might come down from the state level can be overly politicized. So I think that we really just want to read your gut and read and look at the book and utilize the challenge committee process. But I want to be very careful about a carte blanche agreement about every single challenge that comes down the pipe. I think we just need to be very careful about where people are in the spectrum politically in the state. But in general, I think that kids need to be learning things. That's what libraries are for. That's what books are for. So if they're interested in a certain topic, interested in a certain something they want to learn about subject, and there's questionable material in the book, as long as it's age appropriate, as long as there's no foul language or foul pictures, they should be able to read that book. They should be able to learn and expand their minds. Isn't that what an education is all about? Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is starting with Ms. Gabriela Galarza. No, sorry, I will wait for you. Okay. Over 60 districts across the state of Texas have moved to a 4-day school week, including our neighbor, Santa Rosa ISD. The Santa Rosa superintendent claims that a 4-day week would improve teacher retention and decrease stress on students. Do you think this schedule is a good idea, and would it be a good fit for HCISD?
You know, I've been reading on that topic, done some research on that. And that is a very interesting idea because you'll have different points of views. Yes, it would minimize the stress of the students, and some teachers feel that it could help with minimizing their workload. But then you have the controversial point. Where would they leave the children? I read that. Where would they leave the children on the 5th day? So then we're going to have an imbalance somewhere. It could be good for some, but it may not be so good for others. And those are just areas that we need to look at. Even though, you know, we're talking about mental health awareness and decreasing the stress levels for everybody across the board, not only for the children or the students and the teachers and the staff, but then again, we would be putting the strain also on those parents who don't have that extra day. Where are they going to leave the children? And then we're going to have another set of issues to deal with at that point. And that's my response. I think we need to do what the community needs as being a school board member. We'd have to listen to the community, the parents, and do what's best for them.
Thank you. Dr. Aguilar? Do you think the 4-day school week is a good idea, and would it be a good fit for HCISD?
Well, again, I think as a school board member, right, you don't operate as a party of one, right? So you definitely need to survey the community and survey the educators and survey the students too. Kudos to for whatever district has already done that. But when we look historically at some of the most successful educational enterprises in other countries, for example, there's a reason why Finland is #1 in the nation. When we look at what they do for their particular children, is that one example is that the teacher follows the children from grades, from the elementaries all the way to the high school. And so there's different systems in place to compensate for what I think anybody considering this particular strategy might be trying to achieve. But as a school board member, I think that we definitely need to survey the community and see what strengths and weaknesses this particular initiative would present itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leal?
So 4-day school week, this is an issue that's also kind of worked its way over to the business world. I think probably began in the business world and has moved over to the schools. I'm a creature of habit. That's a little scary sounding to me, going 4 days a week. I love new ideas. I love innovation. I don't know that HCISD needs to be on the bleeding edge of this new idea. There's going to be enough districts that try it, and there will be studies done, evidence produced, and if there's evidence on the table that a 4-day school week benefits the children, I'm all for it. But until we get to that point, I don't know that there's enough data available right now to really make a call one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to echo a couple of things that the recommend said. I think when you're last, right, you're like, okay. But so, one thing that Ms. Galarza mentioned is we've heard it, right? So we don't just institute calendars without getting input, especially from our teachers, right, from our faculty and our staff. And so one of the big things that comes up is what does childcare look like, right, on that Friday, right? If your kids aren't in school and the teachers aren't working for the district, then what happens with childcare on that day, right? So that definitely is one thing to keep in mind. However, for the last couple of years, HCISD has implemented a 4-day work week in the summers. So in the summertime, we already have a 4-day work week because we're not having those students that are in classes. So our faculty and staff that are working during the summer do have a 4-day work week, and they have loved that. So we have continued with that, and I don't see that changing. But we do continue to look at different ways that we can try and alleviate stresses, especially around the times when our teachers seem to feel them. And so one of the things that we are implementing this year, and there's pros and cons, but it was all based on a survey, right, that was sent out, is having a fall break. We've not had a fall break before. We will have a fall break this year. So that is a new thing that is going to be implemented, but it was really based on seeing what time of the year did our teachers really seem burned out, and it was then, right? It was, they come in August, and they don't really have a break until Thanksgiving. And so it was many weeks and months of not having any kind of feeling like there was a break. And we're really seeing that and hearing that from our teachers. And so that's something we're trying this year. Is that set in stone? No. I'm sure we're going to go back and say, is this working? Is this not working? That's what we do. Okay.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question for Dr. Aguilar. Hello. Governor Greg Abbott has spoken about instituting a school voucher system across the state of Texas. If you were on the school board, how would you react to such a system?
Okay, so today there was some ruling on that, so we can rest assured that that's still a conversation that's going to be still ongoing, right? And so I definitely think that the public needs to have access to a lot more information than we currently have. All right, so when we look across the state, or actually across the United States, vouchers are currently in place in many states, actually the majority of states. That's not new. And I think that what I would do to your question about what I would do as a board member is certainly provide as much information to the public as to what they feel is going to benefit them the most. And I would definitely encourage them to speak to the elected officials at the state level, their senator, their state representative, about what they wish to be their vote on that particular item. I think as a school board member, we definitely want the children to stay within the school district. And some of my own research within the last couple of years within the district is that we have lost a lot of students to different charter schools. So I think it's certainly going to be in the interest of the school district if you have a trustee who, and this next, whoever is voted in, can actually have their pulse on what are we doing now that is actually going to help the children not leave. All right, that's actually what the next school board member needs to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zach.
On the topic of vouchers, I understand the drive for vouchers in the bigger cities, in Dallas, in Houston, and San Antonio, and Austin, where there are a number of private school alternatives available. I don't think vouchers are the answer to the Rio Grande Valley and for rural communities in Texas, which is where most of the school districts lie and where most of the population lies in Texas. There aren't enough private school alternatives, and I also, as proposed, these educational savings accounts that have been proposed in Austin, I'm skeptical that there's proper oversight given to, I think they're contemplating $5,000 to $8,000 savings accounts just given out to families to use at their discretion. You know, I'm worried about the schools and about the operations, fly-by-night operations that might pop up to take advantage of some of those monies that could be available. So I believe your question is if they were brought down upon us and we had no choice. I think all is not lost. HCISD is in a beautiful position to compete for children. We already compete with some privates. We compete with charters and banks. The specialty schools that came online over the last 10 years are our fine arts programs, our athletics programs, our UIL programs compete well. They compete regionally, they compete at the state level. We're now sending our drama teams up throughout the country, and they're bringing a lot of pride home to Harlingen. So I don't know that it's all doom and gloom. If it does fall down upon us, I think our school district is well positioned to compete, and compete we will, because we have a fantastic community, fantastic teachers and students. If that comes our way, then we're going to fight like we always do. Thank you.
So 100%, I think that HCISD is and will continue to continue pushing forward and be to be the best choice, right, for our students, irregardless, right, of whether or not that's the way that it goes, and that's that is what is approved and voted on. We're going to try to be the best choice for our families and for our students. But as far as whether or not I agree with a voucher or an educational savings account, my answer to that is anything that's going to be taking public funds from our public schools would be a no. Right? So our state legislature, I think we need to remember, right, that their primary responsibility when it comes to education is to provide for a free public education system. So my question to that then is, why aren't they putting monies towards making those public schools that they're responsible for the absolute best? And putting money to make sure that we have the skills, that we have the tools, that we have the resources to what they are responsible for. And so for me, that would be where I would say that's where the money needs to be put. We all have a choice. We all have a choice, right? And we want to send our kids to another school. And so am I going to say we're not going to try to make ours the best? No. We always need to be working towards making it the best. But the funding for that is a responsibility in our public school systems of the state. And so accountability, yes. Making it the best, yes. But funding needs to be put for our public schools.
Thank you.
As a school board trustee, school vouchers is out of our jurisdiction. You need to refer back to your state representative. I myself attended a public school. My children attended public school. My grandchildren are in public school. And I would like to be a part of the process to make this school even better. Let's be innovative and provide more curriculum for our students. Let's make it pleasable to the community. And I know that we can. I know myself, I met with the superintendent. Let me give you all an example. And we discussed the RN program. She wasn't too familiar with the process, and I know that they have a curriculum where you can graduate from high school and you would graduate as an LPN. I'm not knocking that. But I know that as a school board trustee, I would make sure that they would graduate as a registered nurse on the minimum. And there's so much that we can do. That's just one example. So school vouchers, I said let's make a public school be the example. HCISD #1. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our last prepared questions for that. What do you feel is the biggest challenge in our school district today, and what would you do on the school board to solve it?
100%. I think we're lacking in financial education. That's one of the reasons I'm running. The only school board member candidate or all the current board members with a background in finance. When I see our students going into the world, they don't know what credit reports are, they don't know how to balance a checkbook, they don't know what budgeting is. We can do better there. We can do better on life skills, and I'm proud to say that through the last strategic plan, that was identified by some of our families and participants, and it's already been highlighted as a part of that strategic plan, and I think it's high time to bring somebody onto the board with that kind of background to really bring that to bear and really see that develop in the district. Harlingen's not alone in this, right? I mean, the entire valley, all of South Texas has some of the lowest credit scores in the country. And so Harlingen, HCISD has a responsibility to be a leader in this area. I think we need to show the rest of South Texas how this is taught, how it's done, and how we bring our students up with a proper background in financial education, and I want to be that person to help push that. Thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, so one of the biggest things that I feel is a challenge, right? And I hear it from parents, I hear it from our teachers, is our students aren't ready. There's something's going on and they're not ready to, they're not college ready, they're not career ready, they're not community ready. And that has been exacerbated. You know, post-pandemic, we still have learning to catch up from. We have a continual changing world. And we've got special populations of students, we've got special needs students that we could be doing better, you know, in preparing them. So I think there's multiple populations that we still could do better, and I think we're doing a great job with our academies. You know, HCISD has launched some academies that are helping our students to do some real-world hands-on learning. But what does that look like when they're transitioning then into their careers? Are they prepared? Are they feeling that we prepared them? I see it at TSCC. I see some of our students come in and they are prepared, and I see many though that are not. We hear from our students that go off to higher education, some of them saying, I really felt like I struggled, right, to compete with students from other areas. And so what I really want to do is make sure that we set those high expectations and help our students, our teachers, our staff to achieve them, so that whenever our students go out, and whether it's a first college class or it's their first job, that they truly are proud, right, of what they achieved at HCISD, and that they're completely ready and they feel they can completely compete with that coworker or the student that's sitting next to them, regardless of where they're from. I want them to feel like they are 100% ready for that, and that we did our job in preparing them for that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, what do you believe is the biggest challenge in our school district?
The biggest challenge in our school district? There are a lot of challenges in the school district, but what I have seen is the biggest challenge has been to be advocating for the children and the teachers. And what do I mean by that? There are so many needs that we have all talked about here tonight. And the biggest challenge has been for the parents to get engaged and to listen. Many times I have gone to the school board meetings to address whether it be a recommendation or anything that I had come across by speaking to a student or a parent, a concern. And I have been there by myself, maybe another parent, till 10 o'clock at night. School security, mental health awareness, belittling the students, the bullying. I mean, where's everybody? I see everybody here tonight, but where is everybody? And that has been a challenge, to wake up the community, to engage the community. And that has been the biggest challenge that I have come across, because I know that we can come together. But I want to see more. I want to see more. And as a school board trustee, I can't wait. I look forward to going to speak to everybody at the schools, because I want to know, how can I help? I want to help the parents. I want to bring solutions as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think some of the biggest challenges right now that we're for this particular school district is, number one, the fiscal accountability. When I've gone to several of the board meetings and the budget workshops, it's a concern. I think that we definitely need to get a grapple on some of the spending it across the district, and when I look at the budget, not only for the last year, but for the last 4 years, when I used to work with Julio Cavazos and trying to sit with him and understand. And when you look at the budget, which here I have, $112 million of debt that the district has. And that's on the last page of the budget for this past year. And when you look at what we're actually collecting in property taxes and where it's going, this should be a concern to not only me and those of us who are running up here, it should be a concern to all of us. Because like many of you, I have a budget too. I don't go out and spend all the money in the world, I don't have it. I also live on an income, a fixed income, right? And so it's very important that we consider tax relief for the citizens that are paying to the school district. We have 4 different municipalities that are being taxed by HCISD. And we're the biggest, the largest tax entity. Number 2, also one of the things I think we need is leadership and coaching of our teachers and our principals. I have had a couple of parents approach me and they want me to help them articulate this and that. I say, excuse me, I'm not even a board member. You might have seen my sign because but they think I'm a board member. That's great, that's nice. But I tell them, listen, what you can definitely do is approach such and such person. So I definitely think we need to address and definitely give resources to our current educators so that they're successful and that they feel appreciated. Because I think that that's one of the things that we definitely need to move and help students learn and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. So now for questions, I would like to thank all the candidates for their time. Now please give them all a big round of applause.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson, for taking the time to moderate for us today. You did a fantastic job, and wow, I learned a lot from these candidates today. It was really great listening to all their answers. Just a reminder for everyone is early voting begins April the 24th through May the 2nd, and election days May the 6th. The date and place are located at the back of the table, so if you don't know where you go vote, we can tell you where your location is. If you're not sure or you don't know if you're registered to vote, we can also help you with that information in the back table. NCCD has a newsletter, a monthly newsletter, so if you're interested in getting our newsletter, please just let somebody in the back know or get one of our brochures, and he has phone number and email. You can contact us so that we can get that newsletter to you. Unfortunately, right now we don't have an office, so if you want to contact us, you have to pick up the phone and call us, or you have to send us an email. That's the best way to get in touch with us. In order for us to bring events like these to our community, we do sometimes require some donations. So if you would be so kind to donate $5 or $10 for this event, that would really help a long way in continuing to bring forums like this to you. We do have bumper stickers that say, I support public education, public schools. We have those for sale at the back. So if you would like one for your car, that would be so awesome. Don't forget to like us on social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Wow, I sound like I'm trying to sell something here. But, at the end of the day, we just want to thank everybody who came here today to listen to these wonderful candidates. I hope you now can figure out who you're going to vote for. And of course, again, we want to thank the Harlingen North School for coming in. If you would like a copy of the forum, you can actually email patricia.guajardo@HCISD, and she will send you a copy of the video. Mr. Axon, thank you again for doing this for all of us. And of course, we can't go without thanking and giving a huge thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Estrada for the wonderful venue and the food that they provided us for today. Again and again, really thank you very much, everybody who came out here to listen to us. Please be safe when you return back home. And God continue to bless our Harlingen High School Independent School District. Thank you all.